This interview is basically about the idea of having inclusivity and diversity representation in classrooms, with the main focus being on the types of curriculums that international schools use. That is like IB, Cambridge, American curriculum, the American standards, and they were made a long time ago by a group of people that did not look anything like us, and their ideology and their approach to the types of topics and the ways in which that they are delivering these topics and the standards that they use to deliver these topics are very Eurocentric, and it gives off a very closed narration of like the world. And even though we live in Thailand and in Asia, and we include Asian perspectives, which is great because we have Thai classes and all these Mandarin input and things like that, still I feel like what I'm trying to find out is, what about global perspectives? Like, what about the voices of people from a Hispanic, African, Asian, other Asian, like South Asian, their perspectives? Does our curriculum allow us to integrate that? And if we do, what happens in that point? At that point, what's the intersectionality of us as teachers of color trying to input worldviews, not Thai, not Asian, not from the country that's hosting us, but a global perspective? Like, are we allowed to tell the other side of history? So that's what we're trying to uncover in this topic. So I'll kick it off by asking you, in terms of like inclusivity. Oh my God, how would you describe, like, what would you describe as inclusive and globally balanced curriculums?
I would describe that as globally, like you said earlier, is where you're looking at just not one perspective, but you're looking at a perspective from a plethora of cultures and diverse cultures and races. Inclusive. And when you're thinking about inclusive things that are inclusive, that means you're including all people, and you're like all people of all different shapes. So that's people with your low IQs, people with your high IQs, people in the middle, people that have different backgrounds, people that have different upbringings, different educational levels, all these different things when you're thinking about global inclusive, because as globally, we know that it's just not one way. Education is not, education is like another word for experiences. So your experiences are going to vary differently, and those are things that we learn from. So when we come into a classroom is already inclusive if the teacher sets the tone.
Yes. So the teachers check their biases
too.
The
teacher has to check their biases. They have to check their biases. They have to make sure whatever they're delivering, whatever information that they want to highlight, whatever information that they want to focus on, that is not something that is biased, and it's something that is there based off their experiences, their education, and their perspective. But instead, it gives a introduction of all perspectives and allows the students to actually make their own decisions.
Yeah,
about topics.
So it would, as being a teacher in early years, and you have also taught in other countries, and obviously maybe have been a minority in those countries as well. How would you describe like instances where you had to, or where you did include like global perspectives into your curriculum, and were you given the autonomy to do that?
Yes, I took the autonomy.
I love that.
I took the autonomy. At my last school that I was at, we would have to do like these PBLs, particular projects, and I came up with a project where the students had to become inventors, and they had to study what inventors are. So I went through and I highlighted inventors from all areas of the world, right? So it was not just, I was in an Arabic country, so it wasn't just your Arabic inventors, but it was your inventors that are European, your inventors that are Black, your inventors that are Asians, your inventors that are just all, that play different parts and roles in this world. And I highlighted those, so I gave them a rainbow of inventors, and then they got to choose and do their research from that. So that is one way. When you're reading literature, when you're reading books and you're introducing different topics, you are pushing that diversity agenda just by exposing them to different things. That's one thing that I feel like teachers, we are the exposers.
Yeah.
We are to expose them. We're not to make them believe in one direction, but to expose them to the various ways of learning, the various directions that they have, because life is going to take them on their own journey. But what we are providing them is with the knowledge and the tools that they're not the only ones that live on this earth.
Truth.
Right?
Yeah. How do you provide yourself with the tools to tackle these topics?
I honestly look at my own experiences in my own, like how I was, like what was when I was in school, and what I feel like was a little bit more like missing in a sense. And then from there, I look at like what is missing from our kids. Like I look at my classroom and I'm like, okay, if I see a representation from different backgrounds, then I'm going to show something that represents each one of my students. If all of my students, for now, like right now, all of my students are Asian descent. So because they're all Asian descent, I need to show them things that are outside of the Asian descent, because the Asian descent, they already know.
Yeah.
Right? And as teachers, we are here to show them things that they don't know, and to teach them things they don't know, not reiterate the things they already know. So that's how I pretty much like look at my lessons and plan. And I also have to check my own biases at the door. I have to make sure that I don't show just all black things. You know, like I also have to be mindful of that as well, and I have to keep a balance of that.
Yeah.
Just really just checking my own biases.
If you could say, like, if you were working, well, you are, as working in an institute, what would you say is like some of the things that would most support you in creating a more inclusive, diverse, global view classroom? Like, what would come from leadership that would support you?
From leadership, I would just ask them to verbalize that it's okay to have your own autonomy, and them to actually model what it looks like to be a more global thinker. I think if they model what a global thinker is, and a person that has a global perspective, then it would transcend over to the teachers, and then that will give me the okay and the comfort to say, okay, I can think outside of the box, and I don't have to think within the institution.
Yeah. Do you think the curriculum that you're in now offers you that flexibility?
Yeah, because when you look at the particular standards, it doesn't have anything to do with culture. It has more to do with the skill set.
Okay.
So I believe like when you're looking at the curriculum itself, sometimes people get curriculum confused because they think that this particular resource, like Lucy Cockins, right? People would say that is curriculum, when in actuality that's a resource. That is a resource to support the curriculum, but the curriculum itself is the standards.
Okay.
So the standards is what the child should be able to do. So are they able to retell a fiction story? It didn't say what kind of fiction story. It did just fiction story. So I can pick a fiction story that has brown people, blue people, yellow people, green people. I can fiction story about things like, I just read a fiction story about Thanksgiving, and it was about a family who lived in America, but they're Vietnamese. And the little girl was learning about Thanksgiving, and she felt like because they didn't have a turkey, that they didn't celebrate Thanksgiving. They had a duck, but they didn't have a turkey, right? And we and the kids were talking about, like, does that really matter? Because the whole purpose of the Thanksgiving day is just to be with your family.
Okay.
Right? So we all had that conversations. So that's another thing too, being able to have a conversation for the kids to draw their own conclusion and their own ideas about this particular topic.
Yeah. Right?
You don't have to mention racism and all of these controversial things, but you can allow them to come up with their own ideas and thoughts about, well, how do you feel about this book and this character and what they portrayed, right? Like the actual book itself and the information that it comes from it.
And how do the kids like? Do you think that they are eager for like engagement in this way? Like, are they curious about the world around them, about different types of people? Do they receive that like with curiosity, or like, yeah, that's cool, not yet there
half
yet?
and half.
Yeah,
Half and half. Sometimes
you're the age group.
at the age group, yeah. Like in my age group, it just depends. And I also feel like in early years, like like I said earlier, we are the ones that to expose them. They believe everything is about them.
That's true.
They believe everything is about them, so nothing else matters because everything is about them, and you can't tell them otherwise. So until we are able to show them, look at this person, look at that person, and give them other options, they only gonna know doctor, lawyer, police officer, teacher, but they don't know entrepreneur, or they won't know a zookeeper, or they won't know the person that works on the a mechanic who works on the space stuff, like the proper names of these particular other careers and jobs. They wouldn't know all of this unless we tell them.
That's true.
Right? Yeah. Because they only gonna know the basics of what they see on in a general sense and that's what's put out. Doctor, police officer, teacher, nurse. You know what I mean? Like that's the basic things that are put out consistently. And until we are able to say, you know what, let me show you something different and let me spark your interest for you. Let me plant the seed. And then later on you will have the interest.
Okay, so that makes sense. But like in terms of has anything ever like occurred where, you know, part of like I remember last year when we had Black History Month in school.
Mm-hmm.
That became like controversial.
Yes.
In our like and we are an American school.
Yeah.
So do you think that topic didn't fit Asia, or do you think that it was politicized?
It was political. I feel like it was definitely from higher ups though.
See, that's like the thing that
it's the higher up. So it's more like, to go back to your question earlier, like what could admin do for us? What can the higher ups do for us? Model global thinking. If they don't have global thinking, then they don't signal other teachers to say, hey, this is okay to think, like it's okay to have a global mindset. It's okay to be a global citizen. Global citizen means that there's holidays for everybody, right? There's holidays for Native Americans, there's holidays for Indians, there's holidays for our Asians, there's holidays. Everybody has a nice little holiday or things that they celebrate, or a period of time or moments of time where they celebrate their culture. And at an international school, we are supposed to celebrate all cultures because that's what we do at an international school.
And do you feel like we're doing that here?
No.
Yeah.
No, we don't. Because everything's political. And that's just because the higher ups have this fixed mindset instead of having a global mindset.
Because when I was on the Inclusivity and Diversity Committee, one of the things that we came up with immediately is that all our marketing and promotions are very whitewashed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's giving a very like skewed representation of the diversity that we do have in the school, and that diversity should actually be the like selling point, not something that is kept just like overlooked. So that's where I feel like I agree with you. It's not really represented.
That's it. Representation is really important.
Okay, looking ahead, how do you see your role as an educator in helping students develop intercultural competence and appreciation for multiple perspectives?
Looking ahead, like I'm doing it right now.
Okay, good.
I am the representation.
Yes.
I am the representation. I make sure that my kids know who I am, and they know where I'm from. They know, and I actually I'm big on pushing diversity as a whole. So I'm going to show books from just not my perspective, from various perspectives, and we're going to have a discussion about that. And I'm going to break it down in lame terms, and of course terms where a 5 and 6 year old can understand. But getting them to understand that they're not alone in this world, and we are all in the shared space. And how do we conduct ourselves in this shared space?
Truth.
Right?
You know, getting back to when you were talking about teachers needing to check their bias, like, it's hard because in an international school you have teachers from all different parts of the world. So what would you think that would be one of those ways that an international school from the ups could help teachers to get to that point where they realize, oh, I might be teaching with the bias? And do you think that international schools should be doing that, or should be a teacher's own journey?
I feel like the standard behind it should come from the school. Like as an international school, I feel like they should be pushing international, which is inclusive, because international is just not one culture. That means you covering all globally, the culture globally. So I would say they should be looking at things that are in a global way. What's happening around the world, and how do we fit into that scope?
Yeah.
It should be the perspective and the lens that every teacher should be coming through. When they're teaching math, they should be looking at math and how do people do math in Spain? How do people do math in Africa? How do they do math in India? How are they utilizing the mathematical practices? Because that's universal.
Yeah, that's a universal language.
That's a universal language. So how are they doing that? How are they modeling that? How are they solving these problems? Right? What are some things that they found that we don't know? That is actual teaching and researching, right? And showing your students, like, okay, that's great, we learn it this way, let's learn it another way. In America, they're teaching the kids, like, how to use this chart, how to solve multiplication and addition problems. It's like this little chart, they have to do a box now. And the international school that I just left from, they're not teaching that. They're teaching growth mindset, mathematical growth mindset, where they're like, make the mistakes, go back and check it again. You know, like it's totally different. So being able to say, okay, let me show you, because not one strategy is going to fit all children.
Yes.
So that, I think, also understanding that's another thing I would say teachers need to know, and not know, but teachers need to be reminded that everyone learns. There's 3 different types of learners. Everyone needs to be reminded of that. And I think once you're reminded of that, then you'll have a different way of your instructions, because you'll be like, okay, let me try a different strategy. Because you will feel like this child don't know how to do it because you teaching them this one strategy, but you haven't investigated the other strategies that could possibly work.
That is so true.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.